Hey guys, about time I did another vid. As you can see by the title up there, this is going to be on The Dark Knight, an observation, not a review. I finally got to see it today, so I want to get this out, while the ideas are still fresh in my head. Because even though I want to see it again, I doubt I'm going to have the funds to see it. Generally, the only review part I'm going to say about this is that if you haven't seen the film yet, go ahead and see it. I mean, I'm not going to review it because there's tons of reviews out there. You've already made up your minds, but yeah, it's generally worth the hype. Most of these times when these films are hyped up like this, they aren't, but no, it is. It's a good film. Go and watch it. And not just because of the pretty explosions and guys running around in costumes, no. It's a good film to talk about afterwards because there's a lot of good themes in there. And in fact, there's several of these themes that I'm going to be discussing. Before I start flapping my yap about this, I have to say this first, because it's important. Some of you who've seen my other vids already know a little bit about how I feel about politics, the government, and religion and all that. My opinions, however, those particular views, will have nothing or very little to do with my assessment of the messages I've seen in the movie. Okay? Morality, ethics, all that stuff. I'm not going to be talking about what's right and wrong. I'm not going to be talking about who's good or bad. It has nothing to do with this, okay? This is just the message in the movie. That's it. I'm sure I'm going to be getting comments anyway about you put this in there, you've put that in there. No, I didn't. This is just what's in there, okay? And with that said, out the way, get on with it. By the way, if you hear any background noise, my friends over there, they're watching something and playing around. Yeah, it's okay. Just letting you know, just in case you hear any background noise or whatever. So, on to the observation. I say this is a good film because it's a pretty deep film. As The Amazing Atheist said in his Dark Knight review, some people might say, oh, this is pretty deep for a comic book movie. No, it's just deep. I agree with him. This film is pretty damn deep. But it's a lot deeper than many people would. It's deeper than most people even understand it. Even people who are saying it's deep don't realize how deep it is. I recall I wish I remember the names of the guys who did this, but these guys had a review on YouTube among the many out there. They had just gotten out the theater and there was two guys discussing it, and one of the guys was saying, yeah, it's deep, but I've seen these themes before. After watching this film today, I realized that guy obviously did not really understand the movie, otherwise he would not have said that. Yes, the themes about being a hero and what it is to be a hero, yeah, that's in there. But that's not the main thing. Yeah, there's superheroes running around, but that's not the main thing. Got some interesting music playing back there. This is what the film is really discussing. What the film is really about is human society, modern human society. What it takes to uphold modern human society, and how far, what steps those who control the society will take in order to keep it going. That's ultimately what this film is about. To explain this thesis of mine, I need to discuss the four main characters, and you know who they are. Batman, Harvey Dent, Commissioner Gordon, and of course, Joker. So let's discuss the first three, because they represent something major, and the fourth one represents the counter to that major symbol. For those of you who are intelligent, you already know this. Oh, by the way, just for the geeks out there, didn't you guys notice that this film is kind of a retelling of The Long Halloween, that Batman graphic novel, which is very good, by the way. If you haven't read that yet, read it. Even if you're not a comic book fan, read it. It's a damn good dark tale. This is sort of a retelling of it. I mean, right down to the three guys forming a pact and how everything went wrong and all. It's not told the same way, but the themes are still there. That's an aside. Anyway, the first three characters. And by the way, it helps not to think too much of, the plot is important, but the symbols that they represent, you kind of have to look a little bit beyond the plot in order to fully get it, because there's certain things that, well, you'll understand as I explain it. But the three main characters aren't just characters, they represent certain ideals. And what they represent is society. They represent the three pillars of society. Oh, wait, what the hell? Let me explain. Let's start with Harvey Dent. because he's the most important. Not the well, the Batman's important, but Harvey Dent is probably the most. Harvey Dent represents the ultimate law and ideal of the land, the principles of the state, of a nation. That's what he represents. Notice he's this great, upstanding citizen sort of character. He represents the noble ideal that a nation supposedly believes in, what they're founded upon, what they get every other citizen to follow in order to stay united. Like America, for instance. The major pillars of America supposedly are freedom, justice, democracy. Those are the foundations, the ideals, and the laws of the land are supposed to reflect that. And those are the things that supposedly are laws that we follow, uphold. Harvey Dent represents the ideals of a state, in this case Gotham, the city, but he ultimately, in terms of them representing society, he represents that golden ideal of the state. He's an upstanding citizen. Most we know all about him. He's not secretive. We know who he is. We know he's supposedly clean cut. There's not a blemish or a mark on him. He's morally upstanding. And notice how if there is a blemish on him, the entire thing just falls. He collapses like a house of cards. He has to be this pure, unadulterated soul. Just like these ideals are supposed to be these pure, principled ideas that are untouchable. Like inalienable rights, things like that, just like this pure thing. Like, hell, think about a politician. Whenever a politician supposedly has some type of moralistic blemish, his career is ruined, or he's tarnished in some way. You know, so it's the same thing with Harvey Dent, because they're supposed to represent an ideal. That's Harvey Dent. He represents that golden principle that holds a state together, what supposedly a state is founded upon. Next you have Chief Gordon. He obviously represents the enforcement of the law and of those principles and ideals. He's a cop, an everyday working cop. You know, so he has that sort of everyday, the everyman sort of look. You know, he's not totally clean cut. He's not of the elite. Unlike Harvey Dent, he has this elite posture, tall, upstanding. The other guy's more of the working stiff, but he's the cop, the enforcement. And our enforcement knows in every nation, well, unless it's totally totalitarian, but the enforcement tends to be the people of everyday stock. And just like Harvey Dent, we know who Commissioner Gordon is. We know his family. We see his face. He's out there. He's in the public eye. Those two things are in the public eye. Harvey Dent's in the public eye and what he represents, the laws, the principles of the land, and the commissioner is in the public eye. And he represents, again, the enforcement of the law, the second pillar that holds a society together. Because you need to enforce the laws if you're going to put them up. And then last, we have the Batman. Now, you might be thinking, how could the Batman be a pillar? I mean, it's not like we have vigilantes in costumes running around enforcing things. No. What Batman represents, as far as the society thesis goes, is the clandestine side of enforcement. That part of society that we really don't like to talk about in polite company. You know, that the sort of things that we know governments do, but they're not really supposed to do in terms of what our ideals are. Like, for instance, Harvey Dent is supposed to represent this golden, pure, outstanding thing. Golden, pure, upstanding citizens don't do things like sneak around at night and thrash criminals. There's supposed to be a certain law of the land. Batman, of course, doesn't work with courts. He doesn't work with law enforcement. He doesn't work with certain principles. He just goes out there and gets shit done. And that's what governments do. All of them. I don't care. And again, this has nothing to do with what I believe is right and wrong. This is just the truth. You look at all societies. Yes, there's enforcement of the law that's out in the open, but ultimately, sometimes for societies to function, they sometimes have to go out and do shit that we may find morally questionable. Again, this has nothing to do with what I believe is wrong or right. You should know if you see my videos what I personally believe is wrong or right, but this has nothing to do with it, what I'm discussing right now. I'm just speaking reality. It represents the clandestine, the spying, the underhanded tactics, that sort of thing, the shadowy side of things. Those are the three pillars. You need all three in order for society to fully function. And then you have the Joker. And his function is very simple. To tear it all down. Now, he's a maniac and he's nuts in the plot. But there's a reason why he's portrayed this way. And for this thesis to work, you're going to have to go with me down a little world where morals mean absolutely nothing. Because in reality, All four characters represent a world where morality means almost nothing, except to the people that they're trying to reach. More of that in the second bit.